The accidental declaration. Lena Barnes had spent 3 years preparing for this moment. 3 years studying the crystalline language of Thalasia, 3 years memorizing their customs and taboos, 3 years ensuring that humanity's first official diplomatic mission would not end in catastrophic failure. Yet here she stood, watching her career disintegrate in real time as King Veridon's multifaceted eyes widened in what could only be described as royal shock. The grand hall of Crystal Spire Palace fell silent. The Thalasian courtiers, tall, angular beings with translucent skin that refracted light in hypnotic patterns, froze in their positions. Even the ambient music, produced by what appeared to be floating geometric instruments, ceased. Lena's universal translator blinked amber, a warning sign she noticed approximately 4 seconds too late. "What did I say?" she whispered to Ambassador Dominic Reed, who stood beside her, face drained of color. "You just declared yourself King Veridon's eternal companion," he muttered through barely moving lips. The phrase reserved exclusively for royal marriage proposals. Lena's stomach plummeted to somewhere near her ankles. "I meant to say, I bring greetings from Earth." "Well, you said something considerably more intimate." King Veridon, a majestic figure whose crystalline form towered nearly 7 feet tall, leaned forward on his throne. His voice, when it came, resonated like wind chimes in a storm, beautiful yet powerful. "The human emissary proposes union," he asked, his crown of violet crystal shards catching the light of 3 miniature suns suspended from the ceiling. "This is unexpected." Ambassador Reed stepped forward, hands raised in the traditional Thalasian gesture of clarification. "Your Luminance, there appears to be a misunder." "Silence," commanded a female advisor at the king's side. Her crystalline form was smaller but somehow more intimidating, with jagged edges that seemed to absorb rather than reflect light. "The words have been spoken in the grand resonance chamber. They cannot be unmade." Lena found her voice. "King Veridon, I apologize profoundly for my error. My translator malfunctioned. I meant only to offer greetings." The king tilted his head, causing light to cascade through his transparent features in a way that somehow conveyed amusement. "Curiously, the ancient texts speak of unions formed through mistakes. They are considered blessed by the Great Lattice." The advisor, whose name Lena now recalled was Serix, leaned to whisper something in the king's ear. Or rather, the crystalline equivalent of an ear, which resembled a spiraling formation near the side of his head. "Regardless," King Veridon continued, rising from his throne, "protocol must be observed. Lena Barnes of Earth, you have initiated the binding sequence. You will remain in the palace as my guest until the Grand Conjunction ceremony in 3 rotations. 3 days? But, Lena began. During which time, he continued as if she hadn't spoken, you will learn our ways, and I will determine if this accident is perhaps the will of the cosmos. With that, he descended the crystalline steps of his dais and approached her. Up close, Lena could see that his seemingly solid form contained millions of intricate patterns, constantly shifting like clouds within his body. He extended a hand, for long, elegant fingers that tapered to translucent points. "Come," he said, softer now. "The diplomatic corps can continue their discussions with my ministers. You and I have much to learn about each other, eternal companion." Ambassador Reed shot her a look that clearly said, "Don't make this worse." Lena placed her hand in the king's, surprised to find it warm and vibrating slightly, like touching a tuning fork. "Lead the way, your Luminance." As they walked from the hall, whispers erupted behind them, a sound like wind through crystal chimes. "Did I just ruin everything?" Lena asked once they were alone in a corridor lined with columns that appeared to grow from the floor and ceiling simultaneously. "That depends," Veridon replied, "on what everything means to you. The trade agreement. The alliance. The first peaceful contact between our species that doesn't end in someone being vaporized." The king made a sound that Lena recognized as laughter, like the tinkling of fine crystal glasses. "How dramatic you humans are. No one has been vaporized in a diplomatic meeting for at least 7 generations. That's reassuring. What interests me, he continued, guiding her onto a platform that began to rise through the palace, is why your translator would select those specific words. Our language operates on resonance patterns, meanings shift based on harmonics and context. To accidentally propose eternal companionship, your device would need to catastrophically misinterpret multiple resonance layers simultaneously. Lena frowned. You think it wasn't an accident? I think, he said as the platform stopped at a level near the palace's apex, that coincidences rarely exist in matters of interplanetary diplomacy. The space they entered took Lena's breath away. It was a garden, but unlike any on Earth. Crystal formations grew in impossible patterns, containing within them living organisms that glowed with bioluminescence. The ceiling was transparent, revealing Thalasia's ring stretching across the violet sky. This is the Contemplation Garden, Veridon explained. Few outsiders have seen it. It's beautiful, Lena whispered, genuinely awed. As are you, in your strange, opaque way, the king replied, studying her with unabashed curiosity. Your kind holds light within rather than allowing it to pass through. Fascinating. Lena felt heat rise to her cheeks. I'm sorry about putting you in this position. Can't you just reject the proposal? Tell everyone I was confused? Veridon moved to a crystalline bench that seemed to grow from the floor as he approached. I could. But that would create complications. More complicated than being accidentally engaged to an alien? Perhaps. He gestured for her to sit beside him. My position is precarious. The Serix faction believes we should isolate ourselves from other species. They fear outside influence will dilute our crystalline purity. And you don't agree? I believe isolation leads to stagnation. Your proposal, accidental or not, provides me with an opportunity to demonstrate openness to new connections. Lena sat cautiously on the bench, which adjusted its form slightly to accommodate her human physiology. So you're using my diplomatic catastrophe for political advantage? As you might use this situation to better understand our culture and secure a more favorable agreement for Earth, he countered smoothly. Lena couldn't help but smile. Touché, your luminance. Please, when we are alone, call me Veridon. Before she could respond, a sharp crystalline tone echoed through the garden. The king's form tensed, his internal patterns shifting to sharper configurations. What's wrong? Lena asked. Security alert, he said, rising. Something has breached the palace defenses. The garden's entrance dissolved, and a guard rushed in, smaller than the king but clearly of the same crystalline species, though with a denser, more opaque quality. Your luminance, the guard's voice resonated with urgency. An Earth vessel has entered restricted airspace and is refusing communication. Veridon turned to Lena, his expression unreadable in his crystalline features, but his voice had hardened. Did you expect company, eternal companion? No, she said firmly, standing. Our delegation arrived on a single diplomatic vessel. There shouldn't be another Earth ship anywhere near Thalasia. The guard's posture shifted. The vessel has launched projectiles toward the palace. Impossible, Lena protested. Earth wouldn't. But her words were cut short as the palace shuddered, a distant explosion sending vibrations through the crystalline structure. The garden trembled, several formations cracking and shattering. Veridon moved with unexpected speed, placing himself between Lena and the falling crystal shards. His body seemed to absorb the impact, internal patterns realigning to distribute the force. Are you injured? He asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. No, I'm fine, Lena replied, heart racing. But this makes no sense. Why would Earth attack now? After years of negotiation? Perhaps, Veridon said grimly, to prevent precisely what has happened between us. The guard approached urgently. Your luminance, you must reach the secure chamber. The human should be contained until she remains with me, Veridon stated with an authority that allowed no argument. If this is a Earth attack, she is either a valuable hostage or an important ally. Either way, she stays at my side. The guard hesitated but bowed in acquiescence. As they hurried from the collapsing garden, Lena's mind raced through possibilities. Who would want to sabotage the diplomatic mission? Why now? And why make it look like an Earth attack? One thing was certain, her accidental proposal had just become the least of her problems. As another explosion rocked the palace, Veridon's hand found hers, his crystalline fingers intertwining with her human ones. I suspect, he said as they descended into the palace depths, that our unexpected union has disturbed someone's plans. The question is, whose? The corridors dimmed as emergency protocols engaged, but Veridon's form glowed slightly brighter, illuminating their path as they headed deeper into the heart of Crystal Spire Palace, toward answers and dangers neither had anticipated. Resonance of truth. Deep within the crystalline labyrinth of Crystal Spire Palace's security bunker, Lena watched King Veridon commune with his security council. Their communication was partially telepathic, crystalline beings literally resonating thoughts between their structures, leaving her feeling distinctly left out of the conversation. The attacking vessel has retreated to Thalasia's second moon, Veridon finally announced aloud for her benefit. It bears Earth registration markers, but what? Lena pressed. Its energy signature doesn't match known Earth propulsion systems, he replied, his internal patterns shifting to a more focused configuration. Someone wants us to believe your people are responsible. Admiral Pyrex, head of the Royal Security Force, crossed his arms. His denser crystalline form reflected no light, absorbing it instead, a trait Lena had learned signified the warrior caste. The timing is suspect, he rumbled. Immediately following the humans. Declaration. Declaration I did not intentionally make, Lena reminded them all. Intention matters little, Serix interjected, entering the chamber uninvited. The king's advisor moved with fluid grace, her jagged edges catching the light. The proposal activates the ancient succession protocols. If completed, it would grant this human access to our most guarded secrets. Veridon's form dimmed slightly, what Lena had come to recognize as frustration. Serix, you overstep. I advise caution, my king. As is my duty. Serix's gaze settled on Lena. Perhaps the attack and the proposal are connected strategies. A two-pronged approach to infiltration. Lena stepped forward. That's absurd. Why would I propose to the king if I knew an attack was coming? It would put me directly in harm's way. Perhaps to gain his protection. As you now enjoy. Serix's tone was cold as ice crystals. Before Lena could respond, the chamber's communication array chimed. A projection materialized, Ambassador Reed's anxious face hovered in midair. Lena. Thank goodness you're safe. The Earth Embassy has received demands from the attacking vessel. They're troubling. What demands? Veridon asked. Reed hesitated. They want us to abort the diplomatic mission and... He glanced uncomfortably at Lena, and they specifically demand we terminate the unnatural union between human and crystalline kind. The chamber fell silent. That doesn't sound like Earth protocol, Lena said carefully. Our mission parameters explicitly encouraged cultural exchange and alliance building. Indeed, Reed confirmed. We've confirmed the vessel is not sanctioned by Earth Command. We believe it's operated by purist extremists, humans who oppose interspecies cooperation. Veridon's internal patterns shifted rapidly, his equivalent of deep thought. We have similar factions among my people. The isolation movement believes contact with non-crystalline species will corrupt our resonance. Lena felt a chill run through her. What if they're working together? Human purists and Thalassian isolationists? Serix made a sharp sound, dismissive, condescending. Impossible. No true Thalassian would ally with solid forms. Unless, Veridon said slowly, they each plan to betray the other once their common enemy is eliminated. And what enemy is that? Admiral Pyrex asked. Lena and Veridon looked at each other, understanding dawning simultaneously. Us, they said together. Not you individually, Lena clarified. What we represent. Cooperation. Alliance. The future where our species work together instead of apart. Veridon nodded. The translator malfunction was deliberate sabotage, designed to create embarrassment, not alliance. They didn't anticipate I would embrace the proposal. Or that I would play along, Lena added. Serex's form vibrated with barely contained emotion. This is speculation without evidence. We should focus on neutralizing the immediate threat. There's one way to know for certain, Veridon said. The resonance chamber can reveal truth that words cannot. Serex moved forward abruptly. My king, the chamber is for sacred ceremonies only, not interrogations. It is for seeking truth, Veridon countered. And truth is what we need. He turned to Lena. But it requires your voluntary participation. The process can be intimate. Lena swallowed hard but nodded. If it helps uncover who's behind this, I'm willing. I object to this outsider accessing our sacred technology. Serex's voice shattered into discordant tones. Noted, Veridon said coolly. Admiral, secure the palace. Ambassador Reed, return to your embassy and alert your superiors. Lena and I will visit the resonance chamber. As they exited the security bunker, Lena whispered, You suspect Serex, don't you? I have learned, Veridon replied quietly, that those who protest the loudest often have the most to hide. The resonance chamber was a perfect sphere embedded deep within the palace foundations. Its walls were composed of ancient crystal that predated Thalassian civilization, so pure that it appeared both transparent and reflective simultaneously. This chamber enhances and focuses our natural resonance abilities, Veridon explained as they stood at its center. For my people, it allows communion with our ancestors. For you, we cannot know exactly what will happen. That's reassuring, Lena muttered. What is reassuring, he replied with unexpected gentleness, is that I will be with you throughout. He guided her to stand facing him, their hands joined between them. Close your eyes. Feel the vibration of the crystal beneath your feet. Let it rise through you. Lena did as instructed, feeling slightly foolish, until the first wave of resonance washed over her. It began as a gentle hum, then intensified into something she felt rather than heard, a vibration that seemed to realign her very atoms. Oh, she gasped. Yes, Veridon's voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. Now, think of the attack. Hold the question in your mind, who is responsible? The chamber's resonance shifted, responding to their shared intent. The vibration formed patterns Lena somehow understood without words, connections, relationships, motivations. Then she saw it, not with her eyes, but with something deeper. A network of conspiracy. Human purists providing technology, Thalassian isolationists providing access. At the center of the Thalassian side of the conspiracy was a familiar jagged form. Serex, Lena whispered. My cousin, Veridon's voice was heavy with sorrow. Show me more. The resonance deepened, revealing Serex's plan in crystalline clarity: sabotage the translator, embarrass the humans, force a diplomatic incident. When that failed due to Veridon's unexpected acceptance of the proposal, trigger Plan B, a false flag attack blamed on Earth. But there was more, a final phase yet to come. The Grand Conjunction Ceremony, Lena realized aloud. They're planning something during the ceremony. The vision shifted, showing the ceremonial chamber, the gathered diplomats and royalty, and beneath them, explosives designed to fracture the foundation crystal of the palace itself. If that crystal shatters, Veridon's voice was tight with horror, the resonance backlash would kill everyone with crystalline physiology within the palace. And the humans would be blamed. Perfect for both sides of the conspiracy, Lena said grimly. Human purists eliminate the pro-alliance Thalassians, isolationists get their war against Earth. As the vision faded, they stood facing each other in the dimming chamber, hands still clasped. We have less than one rotation to stop them, Veridon said. And Syrinx will know we've discovered her plot the moment she sees us. Then she can't see us, Lena replied. Not until we've secured the Foundation crystal. The ceremonial preparations provided perfect cover. With palace staff frantically accommodating the unexpected, royal engagement, Lena and Veridon slipped away to the ancient foundations, guided by the king's ancestral knowledge of hidden passages. These tunnels haven't been used in generations, he explained as they descended a spiral ramp that seemed to flow endlessly downward. They date back to when my ancestors first established communion with the Great Lattice. The what now? Lena asked, ducking under a low-hanging crystal formation. The consciousness within the planet's crystal core. The source of our resonance abilities. Lena paused mid-step. Your planet is sentient? In a manner different from individual consciousness, yes. It is why this conspiracy is so dangerous. Fracturing the Foundation crystal wouldn't just kill those in the palace, it would wound Thalassia itself. They reached the Foundation chamber, a vast cavern dominated by a single massive crystal spike that rose from floor to ceiling, pulsing with inner light that shifted between violet and blue. The heart of Thalassia, Veridon whispered reverently. The first crystal to achieve resonance with my ancestors. Lena approached carefully, eyes scanning for explosives. There, she pointed to several devices attached at the crystal's base. Those aren't Thalassian technology. Human design, Veridon confirmed grimly. Can you disarm them? I'm a linguist, not a bomb technician, Lena replied, kneeling to examine them closer. But basic explosive training is required for all diplomatic corps members. She studied the devices. These are simple remote-triggered charges. We need to disconnect the detonators from the explosives. As they worked carefully to disarm the bombs, footsteps echoed through the chamber. They froze, then ducked behind the massive crystal as Syrinx entered with two human figures in environmental suits. The charges are set? Syrinx asked. Ready to detonate during the ceremony, one human confirmed, voice muffled by their helmet. Once the Foundation crystal fractures, the resonance backlash will eliminate the king and his court. Earth will be blamed, war will be inevitable, and both our causes will triumph. Isolation is the only path to purity, Syrinx agreed. Once the king is eliminated, I will lead our people away from contamination by lesser species. Lena felt Veridon tense beside her. Acting on instinct, she placed a hand on his arm. To her shock, where they touched, both began to glow faintly, her skin taking on a crystalline luminescence, his form becoming slightly more opaque. The resonance between them had deepened. Syrinx's head snapped up. Someone is here. I feel a resonance disruption. Before the conspirators could locate them, Veridon stepped out from behind the crystal, his form blazing with authority. Enough, Syrinx. The advisor recoiled. My king. How? The heart of Thalassia revealed your treachery, he said, voice resonating with power that made the chamber itself vibrate in response. As royal blood, you should know the Great Lattice cannot be deceived. The human purists reached for weapons, but Lena emerged as well, holding up one of the disconnected detonators. Looking for this? Your plan has failed. Guards. Veridon called, and crystalline royal guards poured in from the passage behind them. Admiral Pyrex had been waiting for their signal. As the conspirators were surrounded, Syrinx's form darkened with rage. You would choose this solid form over your own kind? Over purity? I choose cooperation over isolation. Growth over stagnation. Veridon moved to stand beside Lena. And I choose her, specifically, because through our accidental connection, we found truth that saved both our worlds. 3 days later, in the Grand Conjunction Chamber, Lena stood beside King Veridon as the official alliance between Earth and Thalassia was signed. The conspiracy had been exposed, the perpetrators on both sides arrested, and diplomatic relations strengthened rather than destroyed by the crisis. There remains one matter unresolved, Veridon announced after the treaties were sealed. The matter of an accidental proposal. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Ambassador Reed looked nervous. Your Luminance, regarding that unfortunate translation error. It was no error, Veridon interrupted. The Great Lattice guided those words. The resonance between myself and Linguistic Officer Barnes has been confirmed by the heart of Thalassia itself. Lena stepped forward. What King Veridon means is that while my proposal was unintentional, the connection we've formed is genuine. We request the formation of a new diplomatic position, Resonance Ambassador, which I would fill. Not as the King's eternal companion in the traditional sense, but as a bridge between our worlds. Veridon's form brightened with approval. The first of many bridges, we hope. As the assembly dissolved into excited discussion, Veridon leaned close to Lena. You declined my hand in marriage so diplomatically. She smiled. I thought, let's get to know each other first, might be wiser than, let's get engaged because my translator hiccuped. A wise approach, he agreed, his crystalline fingers interlacing with her human ones. Where they touched, that now familiar glow emerged, neither fully human nor fully crystalline, but something new. Though, Lena added quietly, I reserve the right to make an intentional proposal in the future, once I've learned more about crystalline courtship rituals. I look forward to it, Resonance Ambassador Barnes, Veridon replied, his form shimmering with what she now recognized as joy. After all, the best diplomatic relationships begin with a touch of chaos. Around them, humans and Thalassians mingled cautiously but with growing confidence, while beneath their feet, the heart of Thalassia pulsed with ancient approval, the first resonance of many between two worlds that might have been enemies, but chose instead to become something greater together.